And we're live.
All right, welcome to WeTaku Anime Reviews. I am your host, Jovan, and with me are my three co-hosts. Introduce yourselves, please.
I'm Allan. Oh,
And
awkward.
we're live.
We'll
I'm
try this
Steven.
again. Welcome to WeTaku. All right, before we start the show, I think we want to talk to you guys a little bit about what our preferences are, in terms of anime at least, so that way you know what really you're getting into and who you should be listening to about certain things. For example, my expertise in weebology is shonen and all things crap.
I have a preference to romance and psychological anime.
I'm a sucker for anything rom-com pretty much, and also anything like Bacano. I don't even know what genre that is. It's a special one.
And what?
On our
What
screen,
just
it looks
happened?
like our faces.
Oh, we broke.
Okay. All right. I think I fixed it. It's just gonna take a little bit.
Perfect. Good.
Streamed
yes.
away. Okay. Well, my expertises are basically anything. I basically watch anything, although I am biased towards psychological anime.
All right, with that little technical glitch in queue, today we are talking about Charlotte. Now, for those of you who don't know, Charlotte's a key anime made by PA Works, if I'm not mistaken. Charlotte was Key's most recent thing. It's different than what a lot of you would be expecting, I think. It takes a lot after Angel Beats as opposed to after Clown Under Canon. But the way we structure this review is we're going to be talking about all of our scores, story, characters, animation, and sound for each of us, without giving you guys any spoilers at first. After we go through all four of our scores, we're going to go into the spoiler discussion. We're going to warn you guys and have an overlay that reminds you that we will be spoiling you for the show. So, if you haven't seen the show and our recommendations and or non-recommendations convince you to watch the show, then leave and you can watch our VOD on youtube.com/WeTaku. If for some reason you decide that you want to be spoiled or you just don't care, then stick around here and you're free to keep on listening to us talk about it with a lot more detail. So, I'll read the description for Charlotte real fast. While on the surface, Yu Otosaka appears to be just another charming and intelligent teenager. He has a secret. He has the ability to slip into people's minds and fully control their body for 5 seconds at a time. Yu has been using this skill for years to gain the highest grades, which allowed him to enter a prestigious high school. When the enigmatic Nao Tamori catches Yu using his power, she courses him and his sister Ayumi into transferring to Hoshinomi Academy, a school for students with supernatural abilities. The student council of the school, led by Nao, is tasked with secretly tracking down adolescents who abuse their powers. Yu is forced to join the student council, and together they force formidable challenges that bring him closer to the shocking truth that his own seemingly incomplete ability might be more powerful than he could have ever imagined. So, yeah, that's it apparently.
That's basically yes.
If I'm gonna go first here real fast, starting us off on story discussion. Story was okay. That's what you got, what we just said. It was more than what we got. There's a plot twist that happens roughly in there that changes everything that we're going to get into the spoilers. But for the most part, what I just read is what we got, and all in all, I think it was just kind of whelming. Not overwhelming, not underwhelming, but there.
I felt like it was definitely split into two parts, and I have to say the second part felt out of place. It really did.
Yeah.
And I know it kind of tried to lead to it, like, oh, there really is like two parts to it, and like they're conjoined by this one event, and it just kind of fell flat.
I completely agree with that 100%. I appreciate where they were trying to go with the direction of this, but I feel like overall it was executed poorly, and there were a lot of things that just didn't have the effect I think they intended to have.
It was all like really fast. I really liked the first half of the series, but once it took the turn that it did, like it just wasn't the same show. and I don't think I really liked it that much. Yeah.
I liked it actually. I won't say I loved it because that would be a lie, but I liked the change. I got the first half of the show is very like episode of the week. So I get bored of those pretty easily. I'm not huge onto those kinds of shows. Whereas the second half of the show was a lot more just one conjoined story, and I guess that's more to my style. I'll admit it kind of felt forced, and it didn't quite feel like it was the show I signed up for. But I think the pacing, at least for that, the transition, I think it did pretty okay.
I agree that it felt forced. A lot of the points felt forced to me, and that was really a turnoff. And I'll have a lot to say about that once we actually start talking about spoilers. But yeah, there were a lot of things that felt forced, and the pacing was okay for the most part. But there were points where it just fell off the rails completely and went way too fast.
Yeah.
I feel like up until episode 8, it had a cohesive story that stuck together pretty well and was able to answer itself pretty well. But then just like plot elements started pouring out of the woodworks and it
Yeah.
come
I
the
f-
other way.
They did try to like kind of foreshadow it, but honestly, it was a little bit. It wasn't enough. Like,
I have a lot of feelings about the foreshadowing because some of it didn't make sense. But
Yes.
yeah, that too.
uh, before I start giving scores, does anybody else want to say something about story then?
No, I'm good.
I no, sorry.
I just think it was a good idea that was executed poorly. Like, I respect the story. I just think they could have done it better.
Yeah, that's essentially my feelings. So I'm giving the story a 7.5 out of 10 for it had potential. It was okay, and I personally still enjoyed it. But it's not fantastic. It's nothing special. It's nothing you haven't seen before, and it's there.
I gave this story a 7. It was better than many shows, but didn't beat a whole lot of shows.
I actually gave the story a 6. I feel pretty much the same as Thomas said. It was better than a lot of things, but also not anywhere near the quality I expect from Key, for one thing. And another point about the story, like, they just kind of did follow a Key formula with it, and I feel like that was another thing they kind of forced upon it.
I actually gave story a 5. Um, Mainly because the execution of it was really poor. I thought that they got really ambitious and it just didn't work out.
Uh, all right. Well, I seem to be the kindest one out of all of us, but I think I enjoyed the show more than you guys did too, so that's acceptable. Moving on to characters, I want to hear what you guys have to say before I have my thing because I have a lot of feelings I want to get through here.
Well, characters. All right,
Okay.
so we can start with Yusa. Mrs. Useless. Like, she did nothing. Like, she was kind of the character that, like, it was somewhat comedic relief along with, like, the other dude's best friend, Takajo. And, like, together they were kind of funny, but they added almost nothing to the plot.
For those of you who don't know real fast, the four main characters of the show are Naotomori, the main female lead, Yu Otosaka, the character we follow, and then Yusei Kurobene and Takajo, two other members of the student council. Sorry, I figured I should just throw that in. Oh, and his younger sister, Ayumi. Go
And
on.
so Takajo can, like, move really fast through the air, and Yusa can get possessed by her sister, and her sister is able to then use her powers, which are fire. And, like, it seems like they had this idea for both of the characters, Yusa and Takajo, but they kind of didn't do anything productive with them at all.
I felt like the characters were just not all that great. I didn't like Yusa. I kind of found Yusa more annoying than anything because again, she was meant to be comic relief, but they also tried to give her plot relevance, and overall it was supposed to be fun, but it was more just annoying and felt out of place. Some of the characters didn't feel like they got any development, and the main character, Yu Ochasaka, it was almost like they forced development on him. Like, um, I'll say more about that when we can talk about spoilers, but there were definitely times where it was like, oh, you're a better person now. Yay. And yet, at the same time, he hadn't really changed much at all.
I do want to say a quick thing about with the main character, I feel like he was okay. I mean, like not key level character,
Right.
because I have great
Yeah.
respect for Key. Like they've made amazing things, and this just wasn't one of their amazing things. And I had another thing to say, but I can't remember it.
All right. Well,
They all just generally felt generic to me.
Hey, I haven't spoken yet. Shush, Jovan. All right. Honestly, I don't think, like the others said, they didn't really spend much time on them, and they were basically like comic relief. But like the main problem I have is that like when they weren't on screen, they just basically didn't exist. They were just not there. You didn't even really think about them because like they didn't do anything. And like, yeah.
all right. That is very true. What all of you said is super true. The characters were pretty generic and were, for the most part, not super developed. I will disagree in the spoiler section with Steven. You said that you felt like they forced development onto him.
Yeah.
I think I'll disagree with that, but I'll disagree with that
Okay.
in the spoiler section.
And one more thing I had to say, actually, I didn't like the characters, and that's a big thing for me. Like the characters need to be likable, and there was nothing that made me really, truly like any of them.
I kind of liked Now.
She was the most likable of all of them.
I'm forcing my way in here now. Got it. Puns. Amazing. So, one thing I really did like, everything you guys said was correct, but one thing I really did really love, and something that I think they hit out of the park, was character interactions. I can't use any specific examples until spoilers, but I can say that when it came to characters talking to each other about maybe the future, maybe the past, who they were, what they would want to do, or even just character interactions like how friends would act around each other and like why people do things, it felt a lot more realistic and a lot less forced than a lot of other anime. To me, I think it dealt with loss, it dealt with coming back from something horrible, it dealt with compassion, it dealt with friendship, it dealt with growing up. I think when it came to how the characters talked to each other, they hit that out of the park better than maybe anything else I've ever watched. So I have. Okay, now you have. That's a look. But
You got some other things to watch then.
maybe not better than anything else I've watched, but I think it was pretty close. I think it wasn't. It was more realistic than I've seen from most other anime, and it was. I really loved their interactions. I think we didn't get to see any of the development that led to those interactions. You didn't really see them form those friendships. It just kind of happened.
Yeah.
But
That was
once
my-
those friendships were formed, I think that the interactions were so good for me. I'm sorry. I think the way they talked to each other and the way they acted around each other was something that like you really do get out of friendships.
Like, I really liked the interactions between Now and you. But other than, I mean, yeah, and then you and Takajo, they were okay. But I really didn't think that they did an excellent job, especially you talked about the characterization. At one point, they come back to a certain point. I'll expand upon this later with Now and you. Like, they're obviously the romantic interests for each other, and like they come back to this certain point, and then Yu's like, "Oh, I like you," and now it's like, "Oh, I don't like you," and they kind of like try to explain why now like or why Yu likes now, and like they don't because they don't know why he likes her.
Well,
Yeah, I honestly
I'd
got the same
say-
thing.
I think there's a reason for it, but I think that's for spoiler section as well, as that's one of the biggest points. And yeah, so does anybody have any other thoughts they want to say about characters first before I get horribly destroyed for this one?
I'll probably do more in the spoiler section, but yeah.
Alright.
Yeah. I've got a lot to say later.
Yeah, I think characters is going to be where most of our discussion comes from. But on that note, because of the interactions hitting it out of the park, I'm going to give the characters actually a 9. I really liked the characters. I really liked their interactions, let me say. And I actually did find the characters likable. And the last thing I really enjoyed was the switch from Yusa to her sister, Captain Useful. Because I think they handled the two characters. I actually kind of enjoyed how they did that, despite Yusa being actually awful. I think they did the switch between them pretty well, but we'll get to that later, I suppose.
I think Yusa Heart pretty much only existed to give that existence. Like,
That's probably very true.
Yeah.
Well, I gave characters an 8 because I really like the main character's interactions with now. And that really was the biggest redeeming thing for me. Everything else was just alright.
I gave characters a 6. I didn't really like any of the characters that much. The main character didn't stand out as anything special to me. It's true that the interactions were good, but the characters themselves I did not find enjoyable.
Okay. Well, I also gave it a 6. Um, to be honest, the characters I liked Now and You, but when half of the main cast doesn't really appear, unless it's like comic relief, it's a little bit bothersome.
I think it depends on your definition of main cast.
I mean,
Yes.
Maybe it's also important to note that the main cast kind of changes like halfway through the show.
that's also true.
Or like around episode 8.
I wouldn't count that second group as the main cast.
I
don't
wouldn't
think.
either, but the focus became
I
much
think it-
more on that group rather
Yeah,
than the original.
I would say the focus shifts, but maybe not the main cast. I think we'll be able to go more about that once we get to spoilers. But until then, animation. There wasn't much to say here. It did its job, but I don't think there were any shots that stood out to me. It was very shiny, it was very polished, it was very 2015, as it should have been.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, there weren't any risks. That was my biggest thing. They didn't try anything new. It just looks like every other anime out
Mhm.
there.
Yeah, there were times when they would do like pans and show like 3D models of rooms, I guess, and the CG in those scenes were pretty nice. I appreciated that. I felt that was pretty beautiful. Overall, I thought it was pretty. It, like you said, it wasn't really different than anything else, but it also wasn't bad. The backgrounds were pretty good. The animation was fluid for the most part. I enjoyed it.
it felt like Angel Beats 2.0 for me.
I can see that.
Yeah. I thought they did well with it. I thought they did a good job. It looked good. It didn't look great, but it looked good. They handled motion, stuff like that really well. There weren't any hiccups.
Yeah. As far as the art goes, they did something with the art that I don't particularly like. The eyes behind the hair. They did a lot of that. There were times where the eyes were completely covered and you could still see them. And I was just like, why?
More often with a lot of anime, but my biggest problem as far as character designs is the main singer of that one band. Spoilers, I guess.
There's a band. Spoilers.
Yeah.
There is a band.
It's awful. Like, she totally does. Like, the red hair contrasting with the blue eyes, and the blue eyes sticking out from the hair.
Yeah.
It looked terrible.
I understand where you come from a character design perspective. I feel like she was kind of supposed to look weird with her eyes that I can't say anything more about. But
Oh yeah. Honestly, I didn't mind. Like, I normally don't mind that type of stuff. Like eyes behind hair. It just lets you see, because like half of anime characters' hair is like really long, and if you don't see their eyes, they're like you literally just won't be able to see them.
I
You're
think one
right.
problem there was the what's the word? It wasn't the same all throughout. There was wet hair guy who has a name, whose name I've completely forgotten.
Kumagami?
Gami, yeah.
Kumagami, yeah.
Yeah.
Who, for the first half of the show, you never see his eyes, you just see dripping wet water, and that's it. In the second half of the show, his hair does not change.
Yeah.
Suddenly, he has emotions on his face because the show wants him to, and that's how anime shows emotion, through the eyes. So,
Yeah,
There were
that's
also
fair.
times where his hair did the eye thing, and that I think that's why I noticed it, because I was like, wait, his hair's still covering his face, but now I see his eyes literally behind his hair. And it wasn't even just like, you can see one eye, so we'll show you the other one behind a little bit of hair. No, most of his face was entirely covered, and it was just like, his eyes are still there.
yeah.
It wasn't consistent. That's
Apart
the word you
from-
were going for.
Apart from eyes, did anybody have any feelings at all for animation?
Not really. It was pretty good.
It wasn't
Like-
unique. It wasn't special, but it was
It
nice.
wasn't. I actually want to take back something I said. I said it was Angel Beats 2.0. I think I'm going to go back and say it was Angel Beats 1.15, in that it didn't look good enough to be counted as a 2.0. So with that in mind, I'm giving animation a solid 7 because it existed, it was there, it did nothing special.
Spoiler alert. Literally all of us gave the same score.
Someone on the chat wanted to know if they ever explained her loss of sight.
Spoilers! We'll be
yes.
taking care of that later.
All right, I think we need to put down a quick rule for the chat real fast. Please do not post spoilers until we are in the spoiler section. Afterwards, we will talk about whatever you guys put in the chat, but until then, please do not spoil before we get to spoilers.
We'll get there.
Oops.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and make a note of that.
Yeah, I'll put that into the beginning spiel from here on out. Still episode 1, guys, but thank you.
Okay, so yeah, 7s across the board. It sounds like.
Yeah, 7s across the board.
Any other comments or?
It was not awful.
It was
It
serviceable. It was alright.
It was
It
colorful.
looked. It was colorful.
It was enjoyable to watch.
It was done well, but not uniquely.
I'll take it.
So, sound.
Alright, sound.
So, sound. Once more, I have to make a comparison to Angel Beats. What I'm saying is PA Works was lazy. But for sound, none of the music that was supposed to stick out to you did stick out to you. And on top of that, they reused in-between scene noises from Angel Beats.
I did notice that. Like the bamboo little click, 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 click.
That's the exact noise I noticed.
Yep, that is true. There were recycled things.
Yeah.
The biggest thing with sound though is I did notice I did appreciate one of the songs I think played in the 4th episode, if I remember correctly. And it's when he puts on the headphones and he listens to the song. I thought it was a pretty good song. I didn't really like stick out as something like fantastic, but it was very much it was a song I thought was pretty decent and it fit well in the scene.
I think the problem was that I was hoping for something once more. If somebody even plays the background music from, let's say, Guilty Crown, just so I don't have to keep using the same musical anime over and over, if somebody plays any of the background music or the opening or the ending or anything from, say, Guilty Crown or Clannad, if we want to stay with Key,
Mm-hmm.
I'll recognize it. I will care about it, and I will probably feel the exact same thing over and over and over again. And if any of you have seen anything by Key, that's usually pain. But when it came to this, I legitimately don't remember anything except for maybe the opening theme was okay.
And that was Leah, which is
Yeah.
almost all of Key's stuff. One of my personal favorites, so I liked it. But like you said, beyond that, there wasn't much.
I thought, so when I was watching the first episode, like, I noticed that the soundtrack was actually not bad. Like, honestly, I thought it was pretty good. But, like, later on in the series, I just didn't notice it anymore. Like, I don't think they used it as well as the first episode later on.
I agree with that sentiment entirely. I was paying attention in the beginning because I was like, wow, this music is great. I think this will have a good soundtrack. But then it just no. It just kind of ended up non-existent in my mind at least. And I'm also gonna go as far to say as the whole again, back to Yusa not being a really relevant character. I feel like maybe they just included her and her band for more music in the show, like because Angel Beats did that well, and I feel like maybe Key was like, "Hey, let's do this again," and fell flat with it.
Yeah.
And they had an entire section of an episode dedicated to her music video, which was pretty bad.
Yeah, it wasn't
I
good.
hated that
It
so
was so bad.
much.
It was like a full length like music video. I thought they were gonna stop it for
Not
like
4
10
minutes.
seconds. They
Nope.
would no, it was like 3.5 minutes.
And it was just her kind of standing there a bunch, which was, you know,
Yep.
a thing that happened.
Yeah.
I think that was their attempt at trying to make. No, I got nothing. That was bad.
And the opening song too, oh my god. I can't get over how like boring it was. Like it had cool visuals, but the music itself was just not great.
I might disagree there. The opening was passable for me, or at least more so than it sounds like it was for you.
I think it was more the ending that was for me.
I don't remember the ending at all.
Exactly.
I guess that's something.
Exactly.
Yeah, the background music was okay, not special. I
Yeah.
think that pretty much sums up the show as a whole. It's just kind of nothing special.
Yep. So.
I think we're eager to get into spoilers.
Yes.
So we're gonna start on the scores for sound here because I think we all have a lot of feelings we want to get out right now.
Yeah.
So for me, sound got a 6.5 because it existed and it wasn't awful, but it wasn't that good.
I gave it a 7,
Fair.
but I may have been too generous now that I'm thinking about it again.
You gave it an 8.
I also gave it a 7.
You gave it a
That is-
6.
Oh, I gave what?
I swear I gave it an
GG, guys.
8. Okay.
Moving on.
I gave it a 7.
That's fine. So,
Get your things correct, please. Alright, so now we're gonna enter spoiler mode, right?
entering spoiler mode. I guess we should answer the question in the chat first thing first.
Alright.
First off, the eyes, her loss of sight. No.
They didn't
Did
explain
not.
it. They
Um,
literally said, "Oh, I made a deal with God," and they left it at that.
It's implied that her power, whatever it was, she had a power, and whatever it was, sapped her for eyesight, which we know is part of the imperfect powers that everybody has.
Yeah.
But past that, no. It's I don't know, maybe it was supposed to be foreshadowing for
Yeah.
its brother. By the way, you has a brother, everybody. Spoilers are on.
Didn't she also say towards the end of her existence in the show, like, oh, you'll understand later or something like that. Like one day you'll have to do something like this.
Yes, she did.
At that point.
Yeah. So I feel like it definitely was just meant to be foreshadowing, and it was just kind of a lost plot point.
Yeah. There were a lot of lost plot points here. Can
Yes.
we talk about foreshadowing and then how they just dropped every foreshadowing? For example, Now was supposed to know about use. All right, so use real power. For those of you who don't know, was to steal powers from people who he possessed. That is to say, sure, he had imperfect possession in that he would only possess somebody for 5 seconds and his body would collapse when doing it. But on top of that, if they were a superpowered human being, he got to steal their superpowers, which, a little bit OP. But
And so where's the
Yeah.
imperfection with the rest of it? That's another question.
that's true. I feel like passing out for 5 seconds at a time is not a good enough imperfection for that power. But with foreshadowing for that, Now knew that all along because Kogamatsu, you said his name was?
Kumagami?
Kumagami. Kumagami revealed he was a power stealer the first time that he told the student counselor about him. So at that point, Yu has him possess people, or Now has Yu possess people, and makes it sound like she's testing something, but she already knows. That's most evident in the baseball episode, where she tells
Yeah.
him to possess the guy anyways just to see what'll happen, and then he wakes up and she makes it sound like he did a favor, but she already knew and has no ability to follow this baseball guy later, so that was useless.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did think the foreshadowing was okay with Yu's brother, though. They, I think, set it up well, especially with the third cushion at the table when they're eating dinner, I think, in like the first episode with Yu and his sister.
Yeah.
I whatever. And they had the third cushion, and I was like, oh, what's that? And then, like, he has, like, this idea of who's missing, and I thought that was cool, but other than that, like, foreshadowing was okay.
I expected... Oh, no, sorry, you go.
No, I was just gonna say I don't really have much to say about the foreshadowing. I just feel like most of it fell flat, and they kind of, even when they did foreshadowing, I feel like they forgot about that foreshadowing later, if that makes any sense at all.
When it came to A, going blind, and B, testing your power that everybody already knew you had except for you, yes. Yes, that foreshadowing fell pretty hard. But
Yeah.
I did like the brother. I did like when they foreshadowed it, I expected there to be like a parent or something.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask me why I thought they'd randomly bring adults into a show all about like teenagers. But I'm kind of glad that they didn't. I'm glad it was their brother, and I'm glad he went through the same crap fest that they did times maybe 17.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
also felt like it jarred me. It was jarring when you just kind of collapses and suddenly you're in Steins Gate. Suddenly you're in a superpowered facility. This is nothing like Steins Gate. I lied. Well, suddenly you're in a superpowered facility, and everything's crazy, and there's no explanation for that for like another 2 episodes. But I guess that happened.
Yeah, like all the foreshadowing was either it fell flat or it was too subtle. So when the big reveal, oh, he has a brother, came up, like it just felt sudden. It just didn't feel like they built up to it. It just sort of happened.
Yeah. I agree with that. And also Now already knew the brother and that was more foreshadowing. She had mentioned a person she trusts before, but I feel like you would think at some point she would have maybe mentioned that. Like, maybe he should have been more important. I don't know.
True.
Well,
So one of your speakers is echoing.
she didn't really know that he was his brother.
I mean, right, but she knew of his existence and I guess she didn't talk much in the first place, but she just didn't really talk about this person that was like supposedly the most important person in the world to her.
True.
On top of that, though, if we want to go from now being kind of quiet in the beginning, we could skip into character interactions because I think that's where we were going to get the most discussion out of here.
I have one more thing I want to say about the story first.
All right.
I feel like at the end they completely forgot. The writers just completely forgot that abilities have imperfections.
Yeah. Yes.
You
Yes.
think about the last episode, he was going around and collecting these abilities and like using them occasionally.
Does he get the imperfections? Like,
No.
Like-
They do mention in episode 9, I want to say, where it has the flashback and
Right.
he's in the room and they talk about the guy with the pompadour and he's like bouncing the apple on his head, and they're like, he's got the power to destroy stuff but only small scale, so he is like telling him the drawback before he even
Right.
takes his
On top of
Right.
that, in the flashback, when he steals the power from the guy who can phase through walls but gets super tired while doing it, he became exhausted and going through the walls as well. So he gains the entire
Right.
power, imperfection, and all. And you're right. At the end, the only imperfection
I thought he was going insane.
that he went insane, but I think that had more to do with the fact that he literally never slept and
Yeah.
was also God.
Yeah, I feel like that was not at all imperfections of abilities. I feel like that was just any person who just gained that much power for no reason would kind of go a little mad. And it wasn't just the last episode. I feel like that entire point fell flat at the point that he took his brother's ability to travel through time.
I thought he was
Because-
going to go blind.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he just loses. His eyesight just gets like slightly worse.
Yes, but they did not say once that his eyes, like he didn't say, "Oh, I can see a little worse now." No, I mean I expected they'd mention it at least once, you know?
Just
What
like
they did.
a second to pause and be like, huh.
Be like, "Oh, he was right" or something. I
Or
don't
like,
know.
I can't really see that.
They just completely forgot about it, and then from there on out, you had the last episode. All of these abilities, none of them having imperfections. That really got to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something they kind of just scrapped. I feel like they needed to either make the show longer for that. The ending felt rushed.
Yeah,
I'll admit
definitely.
it. The ending felt
Yeah.
very rushed. And if we're gonna keep talking about story, here's one problem I had: the ending. So
The ending
he
of the
gets
ending.
shot in the back by a
Just a bounty
dude,
hunter.
by a dude with a crossbow, because apparently the force field that automatically pops up didn't this time. I mean, it's shown that it even happened in his sleep, so I kind of assumed the force field would happen, but it didn't.
Yeah.
Thanks,
That's fine.
Plot.
Thanks, plot.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, he's gonna die. He takes the power of courage from a little girl, which
Yes.
I feel like you could have left her with that one. That was not gonna lie.
Wait, have you not played Legend of Zelda? Don't you know that that's the most dangerous power? Like, that's the one Ganondorf's trying to get. He wants Link's power of courage.
That's true. So really, he just saved the Triforce. But in saving the Triforce, he starts to die. And
But-
then the old gang shows up in a helicopter and saves him
Yeah.
out of nowhere. He's never contacted them. He hasn't contacted them once.
He forgot about them.
Because he's gone insane, yes.
Like, but they found him nonetheless. And okay,
At the
The-
moment of his death. Or
the whole-
dying.
the whole courage thing was just cringeworthy to begin with. I
Yeah.
was like, to think, the last ability wielder has the power of courage. What? What?
He has stolen force fields, flight.
We're going full fairy tale on this. Next, friendship will save.
That was just so
Enemy.
out of nowhere.
I mean, friendship did save him.
Friendship, courage.
True, too.
I'm just glad it wasn't love. Just glad it wasn't love.
If that had have been maybe a focus of the show before, sure. But no, that was just completely out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not much. It was the ending was bad. The ending. Well, I'm gonna go back because I really want to talk about interactions here, and
Right.
let's start with the end, shall we? So in the ending where he's in a hospital bed, now is beside him. He's forgotten literally everything, but he still has the notebook she gave him, and that was basically the only thing keeping him going this whole time, regardless of whether or not he knew what it was. There were little moments that felt amazing that I really, really loved. There were little moments like when Now finds out that he doesn't remember her anymore. She tells him she wrote the little book, and he's legitimately shocked to have found her. Two things happen. One, she's hurt by the fact that he doesn't remember her, but two, she's surprised to find out that she's hurt by the fact that he doesn't remember her. And that looked, I don't know, that felt very real, because she didn't know what her feelings on him were before that.
Yeah.
What I was surprised about was a little into it. I think maybe episode 7. Like, Yu is going on his little like beat people up spree because he's upset that his sister's dead, and all these gangs he keeps picking fights with all these gangs, and he like goes to fucking cocaine. Sorry about that. Like he's about to take cocaine. Like I've never seen really an anime address like real drugs before. Like I've seen them like in Cowboy Bebop, they have like the fake little eye drug thing, but like cocaine is real, and they actually talked about it, and like we're like, oh no, it's bad, but still, I thought it was interesting to even bring it up because I feel like Japanese culture is prudish in its like.
After Ayumi died, I think we need to talk about his loss too, because that was
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
That was probably my favorite episode. It made the most like logical progression to me.
I want to say I didn't like it as much. I liked the episode itself, but it didn't feel like it had a lasting impact. It felt like it was just like, oh, I'm sad for one episode. And I like how at the end he ate the pizza sauce and that was what brought him back. I liked that. It made sense.
Mhm.
But at the same time, and I realized it was a long time period that he was like going through this. But at
Yeah.
the same time, it just felt like it was too simple. I don't know.
I want to say I liked the beginning of the episode when he was like sort of a hermit, and sort of a little bit after that. And I liked the ending of the episode when he, you know, when he eats a pizza sauce and he finds himself again. But like the middle was very fast. Like he went from being kind of depressed to I'm going to murder this guy.
That he went a little bit too far, but I was okay with that. It felt like he stopped caring about literally anything else or anyone else but himself after Ayumi died. I feel like he did not care for real. He did not care whether or not that guy lived or died. I think at that point he was just kind of lashing out at the rest of the world after the only thing he actually loved was taken away.
Yeah, but it just didn't really feel like it fit his character. Maybe if it was like the character in the beginning where all he cared about was just being like perfect. Like all he wanted was for outside forces to like see him as this amazing person because he's good looking, and he wanted them to think he was smart and like a badass in general. And but like as soon as he moves to school, he has like a drastic change in his personality, and they kind of talk about it. And then and it did feel very out of place when he was like, I'm gonna kill you. I was like, whoa.
Slow down, friend.
Hey, buddy.
Do those wooden sticks like never break?
No,
He's-
wrong.
He stabbed a guy in the leg and it didn't break.
He was
Listen.
pretty deep in too.
Yeah.
Those are deep fried. You can kill anyone with that. Just don't even go to Japan if you're not ready to fight to the death using little treat sticks.
And is it a reference, or is it maybe just the curse of Ki now? Can they not like because they use Dongo sticks, and Dongo is like a big theme of
Clannad.
Clannad, and Are they hinting to Klana, or can they just not get out of being referenced to Klana because like
Because they're key.
it's
I think
Opus.
it was just a snack.
There was at one point he was watching TV and he was
Okay,
watching
yeah,
Angel
that
Beats.
was just shameless.
Yeah,
That was
I-
shameless. He was watching after Ayumi's death in that same episode, when he's living alone, just ordering pizza in the hotel room. Like, what was on TV when the pizza showed up was just Angel Beats.
And he always does stuff like that. They're always going to reference their other shows, and I like that. I mean,
In the first episode, they went to Key Cafe to eat pancakes.
Yeah.
Key
there was
coffee,
Key Coffee.
Yeah.
as always. Key coffee.
There's one other specific episode I want to talk about, and that was the second to last episode where Yusa went to see her parents. What
Okay,
was
yeah. Eh.
What
Yeah.
was that? Like, he was just suddenly like, "Hey, Yusa, or well, Misa, are you there?" And she was like, and then he was just like, "You should see the people you love before it's too late." And then he yells at Yusa, "Go see your parents now," and she does, and then they're eating, and Misa starts crying because the food was made with her parents' love, and then her parents are crying. It was like, Misa was a good girl. And that was just a 3-minute scene that felt very just there. Like it was rushed and just put there.
It was just there.
They had not mentioned their parents before. Like they just kind of created this out of nowhere.
They didn't mention them for a little bit, right? When it was Yusa's episode, like episode 3.
At like the very beginning, I guess, but it wasn't like a big thing.
Her
They
parents
just
weren't-
talked about how she like lived alone, right? I think that was the only
Yeah.
thing they talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah, even when her sister, whose name I don't think we've used once this show,
Misa.
Issa, even when Issa was the one in control of the body,
Misa.
Misa, I tried. Even when Misa was in control of the body, even in her episode, she didn't talk much about her parents. They'd really tried to focus on the relationship between her and her sister, which would have worked better if Yusa had had a character.
True.
That
I
scene-
did.
Sorry, that scene just bothered me because it was like 3 whole minutes and nothing more, nothing less. They just rushed right into the heart of this. I was just like, am I supposed to feel something? Is this supposed to be an emotional moment? Because one, I just think Use is annoying at this point, so I don't really care that much. And two, this was just out of nowhere. There was no build up. I don't feel anything.
I will say, every time Misa took over Yusa, I breathed a little sigh of relief. I was like, thank God I don't have to deal with this.
But then you had to deal with like the weird spells and the dancing.
The weird spells and the dancing were a thing that happened.
Talk about those things that happened. That totally, definitely happened.
Yusa
was-
was annoying comic relief and a vessel for Misa, and that was about it.
The problem was the comic relief wasn't funny. It was irritating
Yes.
at best.
Yes.
And irritating at worst. Yeah, no, it was.
It was such a turn
and
off.
it also it was such a turn off. And it's it kind of dragged down. I'm not gonna remember anybody's names ever. Fortunately,
Takajo?
Takajo. It dragged down
Yeah.
Takajo's character too, because I get it. He was supposed to have that quirk that he's super in love with this idol star, and I'm sure that's a thing in Japan. But
It made him annoying too.
it made him super annoying.
Yeah.
He was such a better character when he wasn't doing that.
He seemed like in the second episode, I think, is when like they square off against you, and like he seems like he has like a purpose and like he's there and he's like he wants to get something accomplished, and then he just finds this girl and like maybe that's like what life is like. Once you find this girl, you become a shell of your former self. But like I mean, like he was.
Let's
he
have faith
wasn't-
more.
wasn't a very good character after like episode 3 or 4.
Yeah. And one other thing, as far as like not feeling things when I think they wanted us to feel things, when Kumagami died, that was a little lost on me too. I felt more than with Yusa, but it was a little lost on me.
I think in
was, He only existed for a few episodes. He had been there since the beginning, but we didn't know him.
I
Yeah.
think in the context of a 12-episoder, though, or 13-episoder, if you will, they gave a lot more time to those characters than I actually expected them to. Maybe it's because I just don't watch that many 13-episoders compared to how many 24-episode anime there are, and longer, especially for shonen. But they gave him an entire episode to grieve over his sister. They gave maybe I don't remember his name, so maybe they didn't give him enough time. Water guy, whose name I'll never remember. Water guy.
Water guy.
They gave
Water
him
guy?
a good bit of time. Power finding water guy with the brown hair.
Kumagami.
Kumagami. You even said it and I forgot it. They gave Kumagami a good amount of time to develop his character through the flashbacks, of which there were many. They didn't give Yusa anything. They gave Misa her entire episode, and they just let Yusa be there because Misa needs a body. And
Wrong one.
They didn't give.
I think it's
Takuya
switched around.
anything.
I think Misa's the body and Yusa's the ghost.
No,
Right?
no, it's
Yusa
Yusa.
Yusa is the body.
Yusa's-
Yusa's the body, Misa's the ghost.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they gave 3 out of 5 if you want to count Misa and Yusa's different characters, and I kind of do just to redeem Misa's character. Of them, good amount of time. I think my biggest problem was Takujo, especially because when he takes off his shirt to bathe in episode 4, he looks super ripped, and he talks about how he had to develop that to not die from using his power, basically. But that's it. That's the extent of backstory we got for him, and that sounds really cool, and I want to know more about his struggle with super speed and almost dying every time he uses it.
Yeah, like
He also-
they just kind of brush off that he just goes to the hospital like every other week. Like, what?
He was also a main character, and I think he existed once or twice after like episode 8. Like he had zero presence.
He
He
showed up to
visited.
feed.
He existed in Angel Beats.
He was Takamatsu, yes.
He visited in the hospital the one time, but other than that, he hardly existed. And he
Yeah.
had been a main character in the beginning, so it was like, okay. Again, I feel like the writers just kind of forgot about the beginning at some points.
I did like the little comedy moments with him in them, though. Not the Yusa comedy moments,
Yeah.
but between him and you.
Yeah.
Especially at the end when Yu's in the hospital bed and he brings you food, and that was kind of their thing in the past over and over, was that he would feed you when you kept forgetting to eat or didn't want to go to lunch, or he was just like, nah, I have super speed, I'll just skip to the front of the line, it's fine, and then he'd basically die getting a sandwich. Him feeding you in the hospital bed and both of them like crying and like confessing quote unquote love for each other was
That was pretty funny, yeah.
I enjoyed that, and it felt like actual friendship once more. I don't know. I liked the interactions. We're gonna keep going back to that, but
I did like that scene.
I want to say one thing about the side characters, and I'm assuming we're on characters because we've been talking
Yeah.
on
We're just
about
kinda
characters
talking
We're
for
just talking.
yeah. Like I said before, they didn't exist off screen, and I feel like if they had just given maybe a couple of scenes where side characters talk to each other, or like side characters have a one-on-one with you, more than just like comic relief moments, it'd be different. Like, you probably care about them more.
the show focused on you without focusing on you.
So many characters just
Accurate.
felt like too unreal. Like that they couldn't possibly exist in real life because Yusa's too innocent. There is not a single person who would just. I mean, maybe there are. I mean, but like no one.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to have a character just go through their life like, ha! Oh my god!
And legitimately be that way.
Amazing! I love every single day! And then, like, suddenly become, like, possessed by their sister and, like, "Rah, I fucking hate everything! Ah!" Like,
And then, oh, I fell
Uh,
asleep.
Yeah, her reaction to randomly having blackout spells was the weirdest bit.
I would go to the hospital for that.
I will say that I don't think you should use Yusa and Misa as the same character, Thomas. You have it as like she's sweet and innocent but then transforms. I think it's more of they're two different people is the way that you kind of have to take it. But yeah, Yusa breaks every rule of how a real human being should ever act. She's just
Yeah.
there. She's there for Misa. She's just there so we can have Misa around.
Misa was a decent character.
She's there so we can have Misa, but not have Misa threaten literally everything whenever we didn't want Misa around.
Yeah, it was just convenient. Was the problem.
Yeah.
Also,
Okay.
we're coming up on time here, so is there anything else anybody wants to bring up before we go to final thoughts and ratings?
I got everything I wanted out.
I'm good.
I've ranted enough.
All right, so we take you to final thoughts and ratings. We have taken you through our love of story, characters, animation, and sound, and/or dislove, hate, for some. But now we'll give you our final scores, and you can do with those what you will. These are our scores and no one else's, and they're not averages, they're just what we gave the score. So, with that in mind, I give this a 7.5 out of 10 because we have pointed out multitudes of flaws, myriads of problems, and just plot holes and
Things.
things. I was gonna go with foreshadowing that never panned out, but things works pretty well. However, I enjoyed this show, and I legitimately, I just enjoyed the show. Maybe it's just because the character interactions. Okay, yeah, it was definitely just because of the character interactions. But I found the show pretty okay. I enjoyed it. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. It wasn't the best thing I've ever seen. But it was something to watch on an off season. It was something that I liked, and I would definitely recommend it for entertainment value alone. Don't think too hard, which is something usually I would say for a shonen, but for this once, I'll say turn off your brain and just kind of enjoy what they throw at you, and you'll have a better time than if you're trying to analyze everything that's happening, because the show wants you to think, but trust me, you will enjoy it a lot more if you just don't. So with that in mind, I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's a pass, but I don't think it's anything better.
Hmm.
Your turn, Allan.
What?
What?
Your turn.
Oh,
Ow.
okay. Yeah. I thought it was an above average show, but not that above average. Like Jovan said, you should probably turn off your brain with this one. There are a lot of points where if you're thinking about it, it really doesn't make sense. But yeah, that's about all I have to say.
Yeah. I feel like this is the part where I should come clean and say that I didn't actually get to finish the show. I got to episode 10 and I didn't see the last 3 episodes, but I mean, like, I didn't really enjoy it until then. It was just okay. It felt like something that I would watch between shows, like just a filler. And it just makes me so upset that Key had like captured me with Cannon and Air and Clawnaut, and then it made this crap.
In fairness, this is PA Works.
Just want to say Jun Maeda doesn't know how to direct a show.
And so I have a 7 way over there. So
That's exactly where I'm at with it. I didn't really enjoy the show. Like, I kind of was just trying to get through it by the end of it, honestly. It wasn't the worst thing. It wasn't completely generic, obviously. I really respect the story they tried to create. I just don't think they executed it well. And had it been executed a bit better, I probably would have really liked it because I did really like the concept. But just kind of everything really fell flat for me. So I gave it a 6.
All right, so there you go. We have everything ranging from a 6 to a 7.5, which is,
We actually have every 0.5 in between.
and we do. I'm proud of us. So we have a pretty close range from kind of didn't enjoy it to kind of enjoyed it, and everything in between from there. So I guess that's kinda. But on that note, we'll leave you with our scores up for a little bit longer, and we'll bid you adieu. We hear it. Oh, wait, no, we will not. I forgot completely. So, WeTaku Anime Reviews is planning to be a bi-weekly show, so we'll be back in 2 weeks, next Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, or your regional equivalent, with our new show, or at least the new show we're planning to review, and I think I'll just spoil it for this one. The show we're planning to do next in the next 2 weeks is Toradora, chosen by Thomas,
It was me, I think.
chosen by Allan, chosen by someone. Toradora is the next show we're planning to do. I should say that Charlotte was mine, and we're going on a 4-person cycle for show choosing, which will be posted on our subreddits /r/WeTaku. Easy to find, easy to go to.
Yeah.
So,
signal boost us if you liked us, please. This is episode 1. Hopefully there will be many, many more.
We actually got some people to watch this time.
all right.
Surprised. I saw
We had a max of 8.
people,
Shameless whoring
and 6
aside.
people are watching right now.
All right, congratulations.
One of those is probably me, but I mean,
2. I'm not sure.
All right. But that aside, we are doing Toradora in 2 weeks, and we hope you guys will show up then too. So with that, we'll see you guys on November the 30th, 6 p.m. And until then, keep watching.
Tell your friends.
please don't tell your parents.
All right. Well, I'm going. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.